Hey, want to talk to you about something you're all familiar with it because you've all gone through it and are going through it basically. Uh, People my age are not going through it anymore, but we have been through it. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about parenting styles, the significance of how you were treated, what demands were made on you to to get you to the point where you are now. Uh, what kind of parent did you have? And there's been a lot of study with this. You look in your textbook and you'll see names like Holden and Miller, Baumrind, who probably is the heaviest hitter when it comes to parenting styles. Um, and parenting styles can be compared to um, personality traits. It's something it's learned, but your inherent personality is going to play a role in it as a parent. I think probably my opinion uh, is yes, your own personality would play a role in the kind of parent you're going to be, but you have to have a model. Um, and where does the model come from? The model comes from uh, your parent. How did how was I raised? What did my parents do? And the distinguishing styles. Um, and I'm not going to pursue the personality part too much. I want to stick with these major categories. So we're going to be talking mostly about uh, Baumrind's um, her theory, but I can't remember if it's a guy or a girl. And there's a new one that I'm going to introduce you to. So that's what we're going to be doing. Sorry about kind of being all over the map here, but I'm trying to put some thoughts together um, and try to draw you into this thing a little bit. I want you to bear something in mind. If unfortunately you didn't have good parents, what I'm getting ready to tell you about styles, uh, don't harbor bad feelings toward your parents, because quite frankly, they just there's no training to be a parent. You don't go to some official and say, okay, we're going to have a child, so we need to enroll in governmental parenting 101. It doesn't work that way. It's all passed down. Can you have mental problems and have that affect your parenting style? Absolutely. Can you have drug problems? So on and so forth. There are a lot of external factors. You could almost unequivocally say that parenting is nurture on the part of the parent, and then they pass that down. So this is going to make sense to you. This is not going to be one of those deep dark secret kind of, I don't quite get that. You're going to get this because you're all living it or have lived it or whatever. Okay, let's start with the first one: authoritarian parenting. Uh, High control and little warmth. That's an authoritarian parent. High control. In other words, they tell you when to eat, when to sleep, uh, everything. They totally control you and your life. And there's no warm, loving emotion involved. You are taught to respect and to abide by rules. Obedience is a high is high on their list. and I hope I told you the right category, authoritarian. Yes. There's not a lot of back and forth. You don't have a lot of say-so, if any at all, in what's going on. The authoritarian parent is absolutely in charge. Let me give you an example. Most of the people here at CU know that I was in the Marine Corps. There's no questioning of anything in the Marine Corps. You're told to do something and you go do it. You better go do it, or else. Well, that's the kind of parent we're talking about here. And by the way, sometimes military people in the military who have families parent that way because that's their life. That's what they live, particularly Marines, Marine families. And you find two things that happen there. And this is an example. Either the child gets to an age where they do now have a little say so, maybe they're 20, and but as long as they're living in the household of the parent, then they're still going to answer to the rules. And they'll either become a Marine, they'll either join the Marine Corps, or they'll reject it totally, all military, because they've been treated like they are a Marine all their life. So I hope that makes sense. And again, I'm using the Marine Corps because that's my best example. I didn't have authoritarian parents, but maybe you do. So this is probably very familiar to you. There are no excuses. You didn't do it, you're punished. Boom, that's it. There's no question as to why did you not, I told you to clean your room, why didn't you do it? Maybe you had a legitimate reason. Maybe you didn't feel well or whatever. Maybe you're trying to do a homework project that you were running behind on and you had to get it done and then you ran out of time to clean your room. I think you get it. So authoritarian, iron fist. The next category's got a similar name, authoritative parenting. There's still some control, but the parents are emotionally attached in terms of warmth. We say warmth, what does that mean? That means loving. So they exercise control, but not to the iron fist degree. And they're responsive to input from the children, not sassiness, not argument. That's still an that's still somewhat in the realm of authoritarian. And I'm going to throw a big curveball at y'all before we're done here. So authoritative parenting, fair degree of parenting control, but you allow some input from your children. Authoritarian parents aren't very engaged in pleasurable activities with their children, like sports or whatever. Authoritative parents are. They're highly engaged. They want to be involved in everything that, without being what's called a helicopter parent, somebody that's in the way, hovering around all the time. You don't need that. That's sort of an authoritarian approach, but not quite. So authoritative. I want you to understand that difference because many people confuse it. So maybe I'm more on the side of control than I am willing to listen to you, to your side of the argument. But I'm still authoritative because of the warmth, because of the emotional involvement. I think your textbook uses an example where a girl wants to go to she's a young girl, maybe 12, I don't know, wants to go to a concert with boys, and the parent says no, but then gives an explanation. Some people say, I don't have to explain things to you. I'm your mom or I'm your dad. Well, you know what? Sort of, yeah. But if you sit and talk and explain the dangers, now you're going to get a lot of this, problem less feedback. Oh my gosh. But if you give them the supportable explanations, things happen. Here's some examples of what happens. You got a better chance of getting the responsibility part of this across to a child. So I know this sounds like a parenting class. It really isn't. So this is authoritarian, authoritative. The difference. I hope you can see the difference. One is strict, bam, boy, you're going to do it or else. Authoritative. I told you to be home at 11 o'clock. It's 11:45. You know that that's a violation of our rules. What happened? Why didn't you call me? Not like, I'm going to crush your head. You're late. No, that's not authoritative. That's authoritarian. And then we come to a category that's troublesome, more so than authoritarian. It's called permissive parenting. Your textbook doesn't break this one down. I'm going to break it down for you. What's happened is I'm going to give you the old and the new, okay? Newer views of this. I'm going to call them views rather than theories. A newer view breaks down or doesn't break down permissive parenting into its traditional subcategories. It actually uses permissive parenting alone. In other words, it simplifies this. There used to be these three majors: authoritarian, authoritative, and permissive had two subcategories. Well, they've done away with that. Authoritarian, authoritative, permissive, and then there's a fourth category that I'm not going to mention yet because I'm going to talk to you about it twice. Because I'm going to talk about it now, and I'm going to talk about it as a category alone, a major category. So permissive parenting, what does that mean? Well, let's use the downside of it. Permissive parenting, or they're both downsides. Let's use the lesser of the two evils. Permissive parenting is the major category now. Now, permissive parenting in the past, now I'm trying not to confuse you. Permissive parenting in the past had the two subcategories: indifferent and indulgent. I'm going to talk about the indulgent side. A permissive, indulgent parent was originally viewed as a parent who let you get away with murder, and in the process would say, I love you so much, make yourself happy, do what you want to do. I'll come bail you out of jail because I love you so much. I'll go to your murder trial because I really, really love you. That's an indulgent parent. No rules, very few, if any rules at all. If there are any, they're very, very lax. So basically, you get away with murder, and then your parent is very supportive. They're warm emotionally, oh, so loving, and they're creating a monster as far as you are concerned, because you're going to think that that's the way the world works. And you know by now, that ain't the way it works. You got to answer for things. You got to be responsible. Things don't work out too well if people are not responsible. And it starts young. So that was the permissive, indulgent parent. And then we had the permissive, indifferent parent. And it's basically the same thing with the attitude that do what you want to do, because I don't care nothing about you anyway. I don't want you to begin with. That was called a permissive, indifferent parent. So you've got permissive, indulgent parenting. Now here's what you can do to avoid confusion. Call that by one name, permissive parenting. So you drop the indulgent. So now a permissive parenting classification or category simply is the very warm, loving, do what you want to do, go steal your neighbor's car because I know you want it really bad, and I'll take care of you. Yeah, it's all good. I love you so much. Yeah. Okay, tell that to the police. Permissive, indifferent parenting is now called uninvolved parenting. So the bunch that I just described a moment ago, where I don't care what you do because I don't care nothing about you. Well, now we call that uninvolved parenting. So now you have 4 categories: authoritarian, authoritative, permissive, which would be indulgent, and uninvolved, which is going to be indifferent. So, and that's exactly what they are. They're neither warm nor are they in control. They're wrapped up in their life. They're uninvolved, indifferent. They basically don't take care of your physical needs. Maybe in some cases they do. They don't really take care of your emotional, but maybe they do a little bit. That's the separation between the old category of permissive, indifferent parents and what we call now uninvolved parenting, because there more research indicated that uninvolved parenting to the extreme excludes their provision for physical and emotional needs. So there are some who are indifferent, but I don't know if it's a guilt trip or if they think, well, I got to do this, or whatever their motives are. And then you have some in that same category that I don't care what you do. Just stay out of my life, although they're a part of your life because they're your kid. So what do? They try to minimize time with their children. They avoid becoming emotionally involved. They don't really participate in their child's life at all within reason. Think of this: if you get to a point as an uninvolved parent where you're not taking care of emotional and particularly physical needs, then you have crossed the line into abuse. So, and what usually do you see on TV? When a parent has been charged with that, or there's a question are they ever talking about emotional? Very rarely. They're always talking about, well, we found this 2-year-old walking down the middle of the street at 3 in the morning. That's physical. Unfortunately, emotional can be just as devastating and indirectly life-threatening. So, 4 big categories. Hope that was informative for you. I'll pull the plug on this one. There may be a second video this week, because I'd really like to talk to you about peers, and I probably will. And a couple other things I may address this week, but just to get us rolling in chapter 7, that's what parenting styles are all about. So, okay, I'll talk to you soon.